This is one of the smallest computers I have ever held. And it does something that is only rivaled by this monstrosity. It has an 8-core i3 processor and 16 gigabytes of memory, but that's not what makes it interesting. What makes it interesting is the 10 gigabit Ethernet port on the back and 8 M.2 NVMe SSDs on the inside, making the F8 Plus from Terramaster not only one of the smallest computers, but one of the fastest, most compact consumer NAS devices I have ever come across. So naturally, we should load this thing with up to 64 terabytes of blazing fast SSD storage for a tiny high capacity server in your home. Not only shareable across all of your devices, but significantly better and safer storage for games, movies, documents, precious memories, even live editing videos over Wi-Fi. These things are pretty incredible and they can do that. But I already built this guy that does all of that exceptionally well. So what I want to do with this guy is have a bit of fun and try and set a couple different records. One of them being incredibly stupid, but the other a byproduct of stupidity, maybe less stupid, if you want your data more secure than Fort Knox. So while most people are chasing terabytes, we're going to clumsily stumble in the opposite direction. Let me explain. Are you tired of overpaying for your favorite games and essential software? Then you need to check out whokeys.com. In fact, let me show you the benefits and how you could save. There's over 100 games for you to browse for cheap. You can save every month on your Office subscription, even fixing the Windows watermark, ruining your game capture and limiting your Windows customization. So let's get a Windows key. I especially like that you can use PayPal for easy, secure checkout, and using coupon code TL25 gets you 25% off these already low prices. All you need to do is paste your key to become fully activated. And TechLens subscribers like the fast key delivery and peace of mind that I use the service personally. So what are you waiting for? Start saving money and visit the WhoKey sponsor link below. Luna, hey, you're cute. I want to set 2 records with this, with the first one being the exact opposite of what you would buy one of these devices for. The smallest capacity of storage in an 8-bay NAS. The only requirements are that all 8 drives have to come in less than $100 and be from a brand that people know, which may be one of the hardest requirements out of them all. We also have to take advantage of RAID 5 to group these drives together, while protecting ourselves from a single drive failure, which is another great feature of these devices, the drive redundancy. And we will have to use all of the capacity of each drives. We cannot cheat on that side. So the first thing that we need to answer is, can we feasibly go below a terabyte and at a budget of only $12.50 a drive? This is where I ran into a bit of a problem. One of the drives that I like the most is the SN700. It is the king of low cost, high endurance. But even the cheapest version comes in 4 times over budget. And 2 terabytes of storage, I think we could definitely get it lower than that. So time to do what you really probably shouldn't on Amazon when it comes to buying storage. Okay, I think we have a contender, the Patriot P300, which should get us under 1 terabyte of total storage, but even the cheapest brand name drive on Amazon is still over budget. I mean, technically, I probably could buy a 10-pack and use 8 of them. I could make a case that comes in lower than the budget, but it still feels like cheating. At that point, I was thinking maybe I set too high a goal here until I remembered a drive like no other. One that is extremely cheap and could solve this problem. So while they're being delivered, let's see what they're going into and check out this a little bit further. 10 gigabit Ethernet networking tool-free installation. That should be quite nice. It has 8 M.2 drives, which are 2280, the more common full-size ones. There is a bigger size than that, but they are not common in consumer PC stuff, especially for a product like this, which is aiming to be on the small side. A 200% performance boost, I have no idea what that claim is based on, and a 19 decibel noise level, which is actually incredibly quiet. That's quieter than most noise floors. Okay, go on. That is tiny. That is an 8-bay M.2 SSD NAS with 10 gigabit Ethernet, 2 USB 3 ports, which are 10 gigabit a second. We also have HDMI out and your DC in. Oh, and we have a USB Type-C, which is also 10 gigabit a second. That is small. This is my arm for context. That is insane. But now it's time to show you the drives. I've got this. although it kind of looks nefarious and it might be a few packets of drugs, these are 10 Intel Optane drives, which I really wanted to test with this because these are 16 gigabyte drives. Yep, that is correct. Only 16 gigabytes per drive. And even that's kind of stretching the truth, to be honest, making them almost useless in modern devices, outside of a couple specific use cases. But perfect for this, especially at $37.99 for a 10-pack, which is way under budget, at $3.80 per drive. That is insane. But from what I'm told, it's not the size that matters, it's what you do with it, which is great advice to ignore, because we're going to put them exactly where they absolutely have no business being. But these aren't your normal SSDs. They operate very differently, and could present a bit of a compatibility problem. Let's find out. Check that out. So this NAS is meant to be able to go up to 32 gigabytes in memory. Comes with a single 16 gig DDR5 module. So as we fill this guy up, we should talk about what makes these drives special. Unlike the SSDs in our computers, these use 3D XPoint to store data, which has two major benefits. The first being endurance. Compared to some of the best consumer SSDs, these drives are rated for over 10 times more writes per gigabyte. And the other benefit of 3D XPoint is that it can access the data at about 1,000 times lower latency due to the STAT architecture. So not only are they essentially an SSD with a bulletproof vest, they access that data faster than the bullet they are protecting themselves from. The only question, will this tiny server recognize them? We are in and we are turning on. Have a little green. Oh. And once we head over to the management portal, we have success, with a minor caveat. And there we go, we have them recognized. Wait, less than 13 and a half gigabytes. That seems particularly low. Typically, I would expect a 16 gigabyte drive to show up as something like 15.5, something like that. But under 13 and a half is low, like really low. But at least we've gotten this far. So while I tried to balance feeling scammed out of nearly 20% of my storage against the reward of accidentally setting a better record than I expected, it was time to set up the array, which was a breeze. Even if you have no experience with these devices, they're very good at walking you through and setting up the RAID with you, and user access, which will allow you to navigate the folder structure on any computer, even your phone. But other than that, there are a ton of cool things that you can do with these, with the apps that you can download for it. But the only thing that I care about right now is how much usable storage do we actually have? How low were we able to go? That does not seem right. Now, I think I've definitely broken the record. I've gone way lower than I anticipated coming into this, but there might also be a bit of a problem. So the 13.5 gigabyte drives are now showing as 14.4. But the thing that makes this weird is if we do a 7 drive calculation, bear in mind that this is in RAID 5. So we're expecting about 100 gigabytes to come back, which would in itself be incredibly low. But that is not what we got. What we got was 22.54 gigabytes. What? That is too low, and I think it's something wrong low, and kind of against the spirit of this whole thing. If it's a defect or a bug or something like that, I don't think that I can fairly say that this was a success. So in the spirit of integrity, what I then decided to do was get onto a live chat with Terramaster to figure out where this 70 to 80 gigabyte difference has gone. And as it turns out, at least from Terramaster, each and every one of these drives requires 10 gigabytes to be installed on it as part of the operating system, which in itself does sound weird, especially as we clearly have the operating system installed without setting up the array. Otherwise, how would I be able to set up the array? Given that Terramaster have at least provided an explanation as to why it's significantly lower than what I was anticipating, I'm happy settling on that number. But technically, that is not the lowest we could go. So before we go even stupider, I want to test the speed. Yep, that is a 3.5 gigabyte file, transferring over a gigabyte a second. That's insane. But we did say that we would set one more record, something less stupid, a byproduct of stupidity. As the data is shared across 7 drives and 1 for redundancy, it has the benefit of splitting the punishment of each write. So when we scale normal SSDs to the same capacity, this solution is about 40 times safer for the files that you can't lose access to, compared to using most other consumer SSDs. Now, one last thing that I feel like we have to do, just because of the stupidity of it. Instead of having one drive fail and still being able to access 7 drives worth of data, how little storage would we have if we, say, use RAID 1, being able to lose 7 drives, but at the expense of our already abysmal maximum storage? Because this is where 22 gigabytes is going to sound massive. We go create. See, even Terramaster thinks that it's going to be 98 gigabytes when you try and do a RAID 5 pull. So take a look at that. Why do I have 22.5 gigabytes? Anyway, let's go over to this. And we are going to confirm that, confirm. And we are coming back with 3.22 gigabytes. That is absolutely stupid. But losing 10 gigabytes per drive typically wouldn't be that much of an issue. That's like 1% of a terabyte. It just so happens that we're using small drives to begin with. So if you're looking to pick up an extremely small, high-speed NVMe NAS, one capable of over a gigabyte per second, quite literally in the palm of your hand, check out the links in the video description below, including some more sensible drives that I would pair this with. But one thing that should concern you is the dystopian future of graphics cards, because if we don't stand up to shitty behavior, we are all going to suffer, and suffer big. And you can check that out by clicking here. Otherwise, guys, share, like, subscribe, they are always appreciated, and I hope you have an amazing day.